What is up, everybody? Welcome to another Fresh Take Mandalorian review. Today, we have a special guest with us, Rob from Ruler 2 Review.
Yo, what is happening? Thanks so much for having me back, Jay. Pretty stoked.
No problem. And Vicky, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. Finally got out the bed, so I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hey. That's how we do it. That's how we're kicking it today. So, we are at the season finale, episode 8 of season 2, The Rescue. You know what? I'm just gonna go on to say it. This episode was awesome.
Yep.
That's
Yep,
the only thing I can say.
episode.
I mean, we're gonna get to all the good stuff, the main good stuff, but even without that showing up, the big spoilers showing up, this was just a great way to end the season, especially after last episode when the Mando did his best Liam Neeson impression from Taken.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. But okay, so Rob, I'm glad I got you on because I want to get your thoughts on something. I actually love Moff Gideon, and I want to get your thoughts on him as a villain, as an overarching villain for this season. And since we got introduced to him in season 1 at the end, do you think he should be the overarching bad for the Mandalorian series, or just like, okay, we need to get rid of him now after this season's over with?
Honestly, dude, it's a good question because in this last episode, I kind of started to think that we were going to lose him. I thought they were going to wipe him out, and it was going to be kind of like a rope-a-dope, like they tricked us, making it seem like he was going to be the big bad. And then I was like, oh, I think they're going to kill him, or he's just going to be arrested and he's going to disappear. And I kind of liked that, even though, I mean, he's a really good villain. He's a good character. Giancarlo Esposito is freaking amazing, right? Like he's so rad. He's really good in the role. But I was kind of excited at the idea that maybe the show was tricking us, making it seem like he was the big bad, and then he was going to get wiped out in this season. And then going forward, we would have maybe somebody different or new introduced. But they didn't really do that. They kind of planted seeds that he's still going to be hanging around. And I guess I'll say I would like him to be the overarching villain going forward if they use him even more, because, you know, like you said, we get introduced to him at the end of season 1, and that was pretty neat because you get to see he's got the Darksaber, and you're like, holy freaking crap, like, whoa. And then in this season, it's one of the few things I didn't like about season 2. I really loved the season, but one of the things I didn't like is that if you guys noticed, like, there were several episodes that would just end with this Moff Gideon tease. It's like it kind of followed a similar structure where, like, the Mandalorian had his adventure in the episode, and then the last scene would just cut to Moff Gideon on the ship saying more ominous things about his big plans, and then that was all we were getting. Like, they did that 4 or 5 times, and I was like, I like this character, but I'm kind of getting sick of that thing. So
well,
I get
to piggyback off of that statement real quick. That's, I guess, because I'm so used to watching all the stupid shows on the CW, and that's what they always do. So for that to happen, like, I don't even think about it anymore because that's just my life. So I'm like, yeah, the last 2 seconds,
big tease,
and so like I've been trained for this for the past I don't know how many years of my life, so it's okay.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's good. See, I didn't know that. That's good to know. So maybe it's like more normal, I guess, for some shows now. Then and then it makes sense. I guess I would just say that if he continues to be a bad guy in season 3, I kind of want him to just play a bigger role and be a little bit more prominent in episodes than just at the end. But he's a great character. Yeah,
Giancarlo. First of all, you got Giancarlo Esposito. You do not relegate him to 3 episodes. You relegate him to the entire season.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah, like, because the way he was playing it throughout this episode, it was like, you're like, yeah, whatever you can do, I can do better. Whatever you thought of, I'm already 10 steps ahead. Now, that was actually one of my issues with the episode. I'm like, okay, I don't give a damn how good you are at planning. You are not that good.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple times where I was like, really, dude, you just knew that was going to happen. But the way Esposito delivers his lines, it completely makes you think he knew that was going to happen. Even though there's like, dude, there's no way in the world you could have figured that out.
He's got a very confident bad guy swagger about him, about like, this is what I was doing the whole time and now you're screwed kind of thing. Like it's super dope.
It was one line in there. He's like, just assume I already know everything. I'm like, damn.
Yeah. It's like, you got it, man. I believe you.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, just seeing how everything just played out, you are absolutely right. So, but I did like that. I did like the introduction of the Dark Troopers from the expanded universe. My only problem is, why did they make them look like the Marauders from Samurai Jack?
They did have kind of a unique look to them, I guess. They had like almost like a Japanese influence kind of to their helmet, right? Is that what you mean?
It was to the helmet and the way the shoulders and chest were done. Mm-hmm. Like there's an episode of Samurai Jack, I want to say in season 2 or 3, where he fights these robots called the Marauders, and they're basically Dark Troopers before they're Dark Troopers, and Jack was having problems even beating them. So it was one of those things where I'm seeing the fight, and it's actually a very well choreographed fight. I know some people didn't like it because the whole Beskar and like they were just punching them in the face and nothing was really happening.
What? Dude, okay. I mean, I don't know what you okay, so Jay, you said you like it. Vicky, I don't know if you liked it. I thought that was so dope. I loved that. Oh my God.
I thought it was fun.
Pounding his face and I was so into that. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole episode.
Because I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow. But then I was talking to a buddy of mine and he was like, man, shouldn't they be smarter than that? I'm like, dude, he's pounding him into the face. I'm like, what are you? So I was just like, okay, I mean, I guess, but the whole downside to that was they already had established that, look, they have too much power. We have to keep them in cold storage just because they're probably going to overheat.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was actually cool, because I thought they were going to play that into the episode, which they didn't. But I was like, it actually makes sense because of what they did later. So, Vicky, I'm going to have to ask you a question about your favorite character, Cara Dune.
So there's one point when they're all like coming together and they're planning and they're just ready to just tear things up, right? And I thought that was so amazing and empowering that basically it's all women. We about to ruin everybody's lives up in here. And I thought that was amazing, seeing all those women just standing there like, we got Mando here, whatever. But no, we gonna run this and we're gonna destroy everybody on this ship. I thought that was amazing.
Now, I will give that sequence, I will give them this, because I've been complaining about them damn stormtroopers all season. This time they actually made it where they were like, they actually had to dodge. I'm like, thank you for once letting the stormtroopers act like they can actually hit something and they actually have to now, granted, they got their asses kicked, but it was fine. It was fine for once. Just for once. The stormtroopers didn't look like complete dipshits.
I think that they sometimes try to lean, especially in this show, I think they try to lean too heavily into the old joke about stormtroopers having bad aim, to the point where it does get kind of silly. I see what you're saying. I agree with you. And it was nice because they were a tiny bit of a threat for a minute. But then, like Vicky, like you said, like they came in and just wiped them out. And it's like, see ya. Like, I loved that scene. I'm trying to remember. Is there a character I'm forgetting? There's Bo-Katan. There was Cara Dune. There was the other girl's character. I can't remember her name.
Fennec.
Fennec. Yeah. And no, who was the other Mandalorian girl? That's the character's name.
Casca Reeves.
Yeah. Okay. So I forgot Fennec was there too. So the four of them. Yeah, I thought it was great. They held their own. They did so good. I even thought the second episode in the season where they came back and they met up with Mandalorian and they all flew up to that ship. That was a great scene with the female Mandalorians too, and with Cara Dune. And I thought it was really, the season was good for that stuff. They just kicked ass.
Because it wasn't, and I know some people are going to probably get mad at me for actually saying this, but it was actually done well, and it made sense. And I know people did not like that sequence in Endgame, but I tell people in Endgame, I'm like, dude, if you follow the story, the way the fight was going, that sequence makes sense. Just like this one, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I liked it in both, but I think I thought it was really cool in Endgame. Like I cheered. I was like, hell yeah, like this is awesome. But it definitely was more it did, like what you're saying, it made more sense in this. They handled it better in this, I think.
Yeah,
they handled it
like
better
in
because
Endgame,
it's a
it was
small team.
heavy-handed when they did
It was.
This
It was very.
it was just natural. This is just what's happening.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're basically a strike team, and it ain't that many of them. So they're basically a strike team, and they're basically playing the role of diversion so that Mando can slip behind and do what he needs to do. So
It's a game of Warzone.
it basically was. It basically was. And I'm like, okay, so the way they do it is it actually makes sense. My only problem was Boba Fett. You could have came back.
Yeah, dude, I actually kept thinking Boba Fett was gonna come back, and I was really disappointed he didn't.
Like, dude, what the hell?
That's true. He just never that was it. Like you that's
He's
all
like-
you did, bruh.
He had to get to Tatooine apparently. So he's like, "Bye, guys. I got my thing to do."
So, because that was the only part of my part of the plan that I didn't understand. Because I was like, okay, if so he gets you in and then he jumps out. So I would have been like, look, wait 10 minutes, then jump back in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He could have been firing on the Dark
Troopers or
Stormtroopers.
something.
Yeah, they was
Yeah.
out floating out there, and then they came back.
that's such a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually, I was thinking it would have been cool if he was just in the ship with them. But absolutely, he could have just been hanging out just in case outside of the ship, and he could have just like you said,
Providing support,
taken care of all those guys. Yeah.
So, because that's what I thought they were gonna do. Because I'm like, okay, cool. Because he took out the TIE fighters, and then I'm like, why is he leaving? I'm like,
what you doing?
I'm like, okay. In the words of the great Tony Stark, that's a bad plan.
That's a bad plan.
like okay, but whatever. Then we get to now the fight with Moff Gideon versus Mando, or as I like to call it, Spear versus Darksaber. I thought that was actually done really well because and I think what made it better was the tension between the two of them leading up to that fight, because Mando's basically like, look, I don't care. Give me the kid. You can have the ship. You can take I don't care about this damn Darksaber. I want the kid. Leave the kid alone and let me. And you can go. I don't care. You're not my problem. You know, or my focus. My focus
you're like, you're not my concern. Like, whatever.
Yeah, you're second fiddle.
And the funny thing about it was, you see Moff getting like, is he for real? And that's why I'm like, dude, if you're so smart, you should have just left.
Yeah, take the deal. Like, whatever.
Yeah, he really screwed himself. I think that scene that you're talking about is one of the best scenes in the season, because it's kind of just a quick scene, and it's all dialogue and it's all acting, and it's just the two of them trying to make a deal, and it's like we understand the motivations of each character, and they're bouncing those motivations off of each other, and all we care about as the audience is like, get the Mandalorian back with Baby Yoda or Grogu, and that's all we want to see, is just make that happen. And so they're really toying with our emotions in that scene. And it's like, I don't know about you guys, but I actually genuinely felt that Moff Gideon was being pretty honest. Like, I knew that there was a chance that wasn't going to go well, obviously, because it's a TV show. But when because it was handled in a way where when Mandalorian was like, you can have the stupid Darksaber, you can have that, I don't care, I just want the kid. And you kind of see Moff Gideon sort of realize, like, oh, like, if really that's all he wants, and I've already got the blood from him that I needed, maybe we can just call this good and go our separate ways. And I actually thought, like, there was a pretty good chance he was being sincere. And so it's not that it super surprised me that he turned on Mandalorian, but it surprised me just a little bit, because I think that scene was so well done before that, you know?
And that little, and it was what, 2 minutes of dialogue?
Yeah.
Maybe
a couple minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting there like, look, the dude is telling you he don't care what you do. Like, he don't care. Yeah. I don't care about that saber. It's yours. Fine. Bye. Like,
bye, Felicia.
I actually liked the fight itself. And I think they did a good job with it. And then the bringing to Bo-Katan of Moff Gideon, because Mando does beat him. He doesn't kill him, which was smart. And so he gets to Bo-Katan, and then you see, okay, Moff was like, okay, if he don't kill me, which he didn't, I could just play this so have Bo-Katan and him fight each other. But what he don't realize is Mando really don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he really doesn't care. He's like, no, she has to fight. You have to fight each other. Okay, I yield, huh? Here goes the sword, huh?
Like whatever, here, take it.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, like I think Moff
like,
Gideon
you just want to do
underestimated.
rock, paper, scissors for it? You can get it. Like whatever.
First, I'll kick you squat in the nuts, and then you kick me squat in the nuts.
Yeah. It was one of those situations where I think like where the villain who is so smart really did underestimate the power to which the hero just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked. I think that was another really strong part was Mandalorian talking to Bo-Katan about, here's the stupid thing. Like, I don't want it. Like, he can blab on about all the power it gives you if you have it, but like, that's not what I'm here for. So here you go. Like, I don't have pride. I don't care about winning some sort of fake battle. I can say you won the battle and here, take the thing from me. And she clearly was like conflicted. And so they set up that's a big setup for season 3 is what that was. Because that's going to become a big issue, I think, between the two of them, right?
And the funny thing about it is, once again, Mando don't care. So it's not like he's going to go to Mandalorian when they try to retake it and be like, no, I'm supposed to be leading. He ain't going to say that.
No. He ain't worried about none of that.
No. Like, she's worried about it.
We're going to call him the man don't care.
Yeah. That's basically, to be honest, that's basically what it is. Because he's going to honor his word because he said, look, I'm going to help you take Mandalore back. But I don't care nothing about this. So, and I think they're setting up some stuff from the actual Clone Wars season. What was that? Season 5 or 6, I think, where they ended with Bo-Katan and the whole. Because my thing is, how did Moff Gideon get it from? I know he ain't beat Darth Maul.
No,
there ain't no way. I like Giancarlo Esposito, but he ain't beating Darth Maul.
You ain't no one's beating him but Obi-Wan.
Yeah, so
that's pretty much where that's how that goes.
So he must have found it because there's no way he beat him to take it. So,
well, let me ask you guys this. Do you think that they're trying to plant seeds with Moff Gideon that maybe he's some kind of force sensitive kind of person and it's just something that he's hiding or that they're hiding from the audience? Because I think maybe, but what do you guys think?
Well, Vicky, you go first.
Well, I think there's potential for that. I don't necessarily want them to go that way. Like, you could just be powerful and evil without having the force at all. So I don't necessarily want them to go that way. So hopefully they're, but there is potential. There's potential for that. So I guess it's a matter of, getting the story behind how he came to have it in his possession.
Yeah. Like if they do it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense from one perspective that him to be a little force sensitive in as much as that will explain how he's able to deduce so quickly. Because they tried to say that a little bit with Finn in that movie that I hate, Rise of Skywalker. They tried to say that with him, like he was able to figure stuff out a little bit quickly because of his sensitivity. So I'm like, they can probably make the same. We could probably say the same assumption because, like I said, there's some stuff that happens. You're like, dude, I don't give a damn how good you are at predicting stuff. You didn't know that was going to happen. There's no way. But if you say, okay, he may not know what it is, but that's his thing, then okay, that'll make it make a little bit better sense.
Like it's something he's almost kind of discovering as we're watching the show, you mean?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Because they kind of hinted that he was always, even in the Empire, he was always gifted at deduction. They kind of made that statement. I want to say this episode before, like he was always good because he was an analyst or something like that.
I mean, if he think about it, if he has like this latent power that might be like just a touch, barely even there. I mean, who knows what he might have also taken from Grogu's blood. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like, if
it's a good point.
There's this beautiful serum. It's like, hey, here you go. This is all for you. But I'm gonna take this right here and shoot this up and see what happens.
Yeah, shoot this up. Let's see. Let's go. Time.
I mean, that could be true as well.
I actually like that too because we already know that a lot of their focus with Grogu is something to do with his blood, which is something to do with the Force, right? That's set up from early on, and possibly cloning, because you've got the one guy, the skinny guy with glasses who was in season 1, and he showed up here, and he's got the cloning, the Camino cloning facility thing on him, and he was with Homeboy in the first season that wanted to get the child. So they're trying to do something with cloning. And earlier in the season, we see that radio transmission from that guy where he's talking about the M count from Grogu, which we know has to be the midichlorian count. So they're clearly focusing on cloning and grabbing Force-sensitive blood. So they're basically almost like, are they trying to clone Force-sensitive people? And Grogu obviously is special because we know he goes way back to the Jedi Order and all this stuff. And so if Moff Gideon is working for the entity that's trying to get Force-sensitive blood from things, then just like you're saying, Vicky, maybe he wants some of it for himself because he actually knows what it is and what it could, like, maybe he's like, yeah, I'll get some for the Empire, for my bosses, but I also want some for me.
Exactly.
Like maybe he's trying to do some weird stuff there potentially.
He's had to have seen Vader and the Emperor at some point. That's the only thing I can surmise. Gideon had to have seen them at some point, and he knows about it. But then that gets us to possibly the best part of the episode.
Oh, baby.
When Luke shows up. So this
but didn't I tell you, Jay? Didn't I tell you?
You predicting that? Did you
yeah.
predict that?
She called it. Because I was wondering I thought it was gonna be Ezra or the other guy from Rebels. That's who I thought it was gonna be.
Kanan didn't survive. Is that?
Kanan didn't survive. Crap. So it would have had to been Ezra.
Yeah, if Ezra was
going to be anybody.
So I was hoping it was going to be Mace Windu. He was somebody high on my list. Like Ezra would have been cool. Because I like Rebels, and I think Ezra was a pretty good character. Maybe Ahsoka was going to return, but we already met her, so we didn't need that. I think Mace Windu would have made me flip, but Luke was the ultimate. The thing is, Luke was like the thing that everyone wanted, and we were like, I mean, it's in the story it's possible, but no one thought in reality it could have been possible. Well, except for maybe you, Vicky, because it sounds like you predicted it.
Yeah, she called it. She she called it.
I set up the whole sequence. I was like, no, this is what's gonna happen.
Did you predict it just like it went down?
Yeah, like their backs against the wall. They're gonna be about to die. It's gonna be all over, and then magically a Jedi arrives.
And, maybe you're Force sensitive.
I know, right?
She can see things before they happen.
Read and watch so much of this stuff, and I'm like, well, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. I didn't.
It was incredible.
I did not think it was going to be Luke, and he had the green saber. Thank God.
And the glove, dude. Like they show that shot of his glove, and that's when you're like, oh,
it's him.
Shit, that's Luke, dude. There's no way. Oh my God.
And the thing is, this is how you show, because they showed him power. He cut through them like Swiss cheese.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yes, this is how powerful Luke is supposed to be.
Well, and that's part of the brilliance of how I think this episode was directed too, because going back to the fight with Mandalorian and the Dark Trooper, what's good about that scene is it was basically done to just show how powerful these guys are. Just one-on-one. It's like the only reason Mando even had a chance is because he's wearing this super incredible dope armor that no one in the galaxy has. Without that, if he was just a man, he wouldn't have stood even not even a chance. That's and the fact that there was a whole room of like 20 more of them is like, that's unstoppable. You could take over a planet with that kind of force. So when then Luke comes along and, like you said, like butter just cuts through him, you're like, oh yeah, Luke is the man. Like, that's your unstoppable force.
I did get confused for a second there, because the body double person, they did have like a very slim body and a feminine walk. I was like, wait, is that a female? So like it got confused. I was like,
interesting.
But no, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
So like, just from just watching people walk, you notice how, and men and women walk so much differently.
Yes,
so I was
we have a different gait. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So when I was watching, I was like, is that a woman? Just from then I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, okay, I don't, because that's what threw me off for a second.
I wonder if they did that on purpose to be like, because, you know, it's if you go back to Return of the Jedi Luke, and, you know, because this is only a couple of years after Return of the Jedi, like, he was a pretty svelte, thin dude at that time. You know, he was much, much younger than he is now. It's like 40 years ago. And so it's like the thin part definitely made sense for him at that time, but maybe they also went out of their way to make it mysterious. And it could have even been a female body double for that exact reason.
For certain parts of it,
Yeah.
Because I saw like the hand. I was like, no, the hand is a masculine hand. So like that was throwing me off for a second. I was like, what?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I love the way they shot it, because they shot it where you have the characters looking on the screen, you have their facial reactions, especially Moff Gideon, because he's like, oh shit. And like he knows that's a Jedi.
Not supposed to be possible. Yeah.
Like, hold up.
And so every time, and the music, the score is amazing in this episode. So every time they go to one section, you just see him mowing through them, and then they'll show a facial reaction. They'll go to another section, facial reaction, Luke mowing through him. Then you see him walking. Another section. Okay, now they put the camera in the room, you can actually see him doing what he's doing. Go back to the bridge, facial reaction. I'm like, okay, I love how they're doing this.
The hype. They definitely leaned into the hype. They treated it like the ultimate like wrestling intro, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really effective.
Like, let's all be honest here. While watching that, didn't you want a nice, amazing, billowing cape? I was like, I feel like I need a cape like this. I need to like sweep in and out of rooms with this amazing hooded cape and like what? And like have like an own like installed fan on it so it moves perfectly.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, because like I said, I love the cinematography and how they shot it, because they shot it and it's a long sequence. You know, I think we don't realize how long that sequence is. It's about 10 minutes.
I think that they were trying to, you know, there's been, I think it's a little bit of a meta moment where they knew that they had a chance to please some people who weren't pleased with how maybe the movies happened. And that's I'm only half in that camp, because I did like Luke in The Last Jedi. You and I talked about that. I got issues with the movie here and there, but I did think Luke was great in that. I was okay with it. But I also did want to see him wreck shop, and I was sad we didn't get to see that. And so I think that they just leaned real heavy into that, you know, as fan service. I think that they really just said, let's just go fan servicey and just show what the movies didn't show, because people want to see it. And like, there's times where you can do that stuff and it compromises your story because it doesn't feel genuine. But this is a situation where I don't think it compromised anything, and it was just a great fun scene that was deserved, you know, like, and it just delivered on everything we wanted.
Fans from that original trilogy were losing their mind when that happened.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude.
They were losing their mind, because that is how we envision Luke being after he took out Palpatine and changed
after
Vader.
He won.
Yeah, after he
won.
Yeah, that's how we envisioned Luke. So, and to be honest, you got the two biggest fanboys as their freaking showrunners, and they are not going to screw this up. Favreau and Filoni are not screwing this up.
That is so true.
They're not.
Yeah.
So
well, and you know, George was there too, like visiting on seasons 1 and 2. You know, what's funny, I don't know if you guys came across this info, but around the time of the Ahsoka episode, Rosario Dawson was talking a little bit in some of her interviews after it was revealed she was in it. And you guys remember the famous picture from last year of George Lucas on set holding a little baby Yoda, the animatronic. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Rosario Dawson confirmed that picture was actually taken during when they were already filming season 2. And Rosario Dawson was on set on the other side of the camera. She was there and like in makeup and costume. And so everyone assumed that was during the filming of season 1, because season 1 was still airing at the time, but they were so far ahead and they were keeping secrets so well that was, you know, season 1 was in the middle of airing, but they were filming season 2. Lucas was on set, and so was Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. And this is 2019. This is a long time ago. And they were already, and they kept that secret until she showed up in the episode. And so it's crazy to think that they were doing that far back. That blew my mind.
Yeah, that really did. Now I have to ask Rob, because I'm gonna have to ask this question, man.
Mm-hmm.
Are they retconning 7, 8, and 9? Do you believe they're trying to do a retcon? Because I've read stuff that like Disney kind of wanted that to happen. Or do you believe that like with Mandalorian they were like, okay, look, we got to change some of the stuff that happened in 7, 8, and 9?
Honestly, it's a
Story
good
wise,
question.
at least.
Sure. It's a good question. And I think a lot of people want the answer to be yes. And I mean, obviously, I don't like the Disney trilogy. So I would like to say the answer is yes. But I honestly kind of don't really think they're going to go that far. I think that what they are going to do is use this show to sort of fill in some of the gaps or I'll say it a different way. I think they're going to use the show to fulfill some missed promises from the Disney trilogy. Does that make sense?
That
I
makes
don't know
sense.
because I don't know if I see them outright retconning, just because I think that it's worse for you to try to do that than it is for you to just commit to and accept the things you did that were bad, but just try to improve on them as you go. Because, you could argue, as much as, maybe some people have problems with The Last Jedi, we have bigger problems with Rise of Skywalker because it tried to do retconning. And I think that's one of the things that, right? I think that hurt Rise of Skywalker more than it hurt The Last Jedi, because I would have rather them just stayed committed to the things Last Jedi did, even the things I didn't like, because there's some I liked, some I didn't. And even the stuff I didn't like, it's like, I'd rather you just commit to it and fulfill and deliver on it to stay consistent. But the inconsistencies is what screws that whole trilogy up. And so I don't necessarily need them to say, oh, Luke didn't really die, fighting Ben Solo, and maybe the Knights of Ren didn't really happen or whatever. Like, even if I hate some of that stuff, I'd rather them just find ways to color those events and make them better by showing stuff in this show. So my prediction, to answer your question, is I don't think they're going to retcon. I know people want it, and I know why they want it, but I just don't see them going that far. What do you guys think?
Well, so I come from the world of fan fiction. So I have no problem. You know what? Do what you want. If you think things were screwed up going that way, then rewrite it and go a whole different way. And that doesn't bother me. But I know that is me in my fan fiction mind. And I enjoy reading the story going a whole different way than what they might have already presented us. But I don't think a lot of people think that way. So a lot of people might not be accepting of them saying, let's just scrub that which y'all originally had and let's go over this way instead. I would be accepting of it. I think a lot of people who are heavy into reading, like, canon divergence and all that stuff are like, sure, whatever. If you tell a good story and I can really accept and understand where you're going with it, I don't care. Don't go so far as having like the Omega verse, but do whatever you want. I'm along for the ride.
Do you have a preference yourself on which they did?
You know what? I would want them to go full fan fiction. Let's just do something completely. Let's just scrub all this out. That was a dream. We wake up, and this is what happened instead.
Okay, fair enough.
Dope.
Yeah, it was a dream.
It was a bad dream. You saw things went bad. This is how Luke wakes up, and this is what happens instead. That was a nightmare he had. Done.
Well, here's my thoughts on it. I think one, Disney messed up. Disney, and I'm gonna blame Disney and Kathleen Kennedy for this. Yeah, they messed up when they said that they were ignoring the expanded universe. Filoni and Favreau have not ignored it. They've brought it back. So I think yes, on some levels there are going to be some slight alterations to what happened in that trilogy via the TV shows. And how they're doing it is saying, okay, we got this. Like Mandalorian is set 5 years after Return of the Jedi. Ahsoka is probably the Ahsoka show is probably going to be going after Thrawn, which is probably going to be set like 5 to 10 in that same 5 to 10 years after Return of the Jedi. And the things that happen in those series is going to alter what we saw on the screen just a tad enough to fix the
Yeah.
the inconsistency portions of it.
I like the idea of calling it more like a slight alteration, like you're saying, as opposed to
Yeah.
a retcon. Because I think an alteration is a smaller kind of change and a smaller deal and maybe easier to accept. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
That's what I'm thinking, because I remember when Disney first started and they were introducing Disney Plus, because they said it with the Marvel shows. I didn't think they were going to do it with the Star Wars shows, but they did say it with the Marvel shows, that the Marvel TV shows are going to be set up in a way that when we talk about stuff in the movies, we can now talk about stuff. And if you watch the TV show, you already know. But if you didn't, that's on you. That's not on us. And I think that's what Star Wars, because the problem with the Star Wars movies, and we can talk about that, and that's over all 3 trilogies, it's so big of a time jump between each movie. We just hear about these things happen. We don't see it. So, for instance,
well, that's only in the first 2 trilogies. That one of the biggest problems I have with the Disney trilogy is almost no time passed.
Well, they don't.
Or do you mean between trilogies?
Yeah,
as opposed to between movies.
If between trilogies and between movies in the first 2 trilogies, in the Disney trilogy, there's literally no time between Last Jedi and Force Awakens, but between
I hate that.
The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, there's had to have been at least months.
It's actually they've confirmed it's 1 year between
1 year. Okay, see, so that's the thing. Like,
it's not much time.
But they don't. In the Disney trilogy, they don't really say. They just let you watch it. But in the original and the prequel trilogy, it was straight up 5-10 years between. Like in some cases,
big jumps.
I think that was one of my main issues with the Star Wars movies as a whole, was because I'm like, okay, y'all say all this cool stuff happened, but I don't get to see it.
Yeah.
Now you have a way of doing it.
Yeah, well, and that's really what the Clone Wars, both versions of the Clone Wars show really did. That was George Lucas's attempts to start saying, well, now that I've finished my movies, because at the time his intent was to just finish it at 6 movies. He's like, I finished my movies. I told my story. We know about the Skywalkers. We know about Anakin and Darth Vader, which is who the story is supposed to be about, and his 2 children. And so now that I'm done with my movies, where do I go next? Well, I do have these big gaps in time. And so maybe I can start to kind of fill in those gaps. And that's where the whole idea of creating a show about the Clone Wars between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith came from. And obviously, what a huge hit that was. So that really, true to form, it began with the creator. And now that it's moved on from the creator, they're adopting that and trying to move forward, doing more of that stuff, which is certainly pretty cool.
Now, I will say this. I am glad that they have brought Lucas on in an advisory role, because they need somebody proofing their work anyway. And you might as well have the guy who started the whole thing proofing your work.
Yeah, I hope that they confirm he's in he gets a little bit more of a specific role with something going forward. I mean, I would mostly like to hear that he's involved, obviously, with the Obi-Wan show somehow, which I think they might eventually confirm if it's true. I guess maybe
they're probably saving that. They're probably saving that for for a big reveal. They probably saving that. I would not be surprised.
Maybe.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if George he directs at least a couple of episodes of Obi-Wan. I would not be surprised.
Well, I want that so badly.
I wouldn't be, and if I'm Disney, I'm holding on to that, because I know people would love that. So I'm holding on. I'm not telling nobody that until it happens.
Yeah, but like the only thing I have to say about that, though, man, is they've already confirmed Deborah Chow as like the director of the show. And so I just wonder if, they could surprise us and be like, surprise, we actually have a guest of one. We told you Deborah Chow is directing the series, but we have a guest, George Lucas himself. They might do that. I feel like, I just wonder if maybe they're too committed to like, we chose our one director. It's this person. She's the person. And so, let's let it be hers. Who knows what they do? To me, it would almost be enough to just know, like, maybe George Lucas was part of the writer's room, and it's like, let's make this story part of George. Let's get him to help us tell the story and do it right. That would almost be enough for me. But if they gave us the surprise that he directed an episode or two, like maybe the first or the last episode, I would just jump out of my boots, man. It would be so
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, because I didn't even know he was messing around till I saw the gallery. I was watching because I like watching featurettes and stuff. So I was watching the gallery and I'm like, wait a minute, that's George Lucas. What the hell is he doing on? Like, so that's
They're
how I
keeping him
knew about.
around.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is he doing? So
I think that as the trilogy started to kind of fall apart on them, and you know, people started to sort of turn on Star Wars, I think they realized that they needed to be a little bit more welcoming to George after they kind of kicked him out once he retired.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's what happened.
Yeah,
it's like, oops,
smart.
our bad.
Yeah, yeah, smart. But before we get out of here, one thing, that post-credit sequence with Boba Fett sitting on the throne with Finnick on the arm, that was dope.
Yeah, I love that. I almost want that image like tattooed on me. I thought it was so sick.
I'm like, I need to make a wallpaper out of that and put that as my computer background. But yeah, so if you haven't seen, when you watch the episode, I know people love to jump through the credits. Do not do that.
Yeah,
stick around. Treat it like a Marvel movie. Just stick around.
Yeah,
and you will be rewarded for sticking around.
Like,
they pretty much.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Vicky. You're fine. Go ahead.
You know what? I had exited out, like when the credits came up. I exited out, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Exit out, as I always do. And then that's when I noticed, like, you know how like there's like the little image with the episode or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It had a picture of C-3PO. I was like, wait, what is that picture of? I didn't. What? Like, was I not paying attention? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm usually watching YouTube on my phone at the same time that I'm watching TV. I tend to do that. Yeah,
That's
I do.
Crazy.
So I tend to do that.
I watch YouTube when I game, but to watch YouTube while I'm also watching something, that like my brain
sensory
is
overload.
Exploding. Yeah, but that's cool. You know, do your thing.
Yeah, because it's like I don't know. That's how my mind works. And I was like, wait. So then I clicked back on. I was like, well, there's like 7 minutes left. Let me just fast forward through this to see if there's something at the very end that maybe I just missed. And then I was like, oh, okay, let's watch this. Let's see what this is about.
They show the Tatooine twin sons, and you're like, what is going? And then you see Jabba's palace, and it's like, what is this?
Yeah, I was like, wait, huh?
Yeah, it's so cool.
And that's December of next year, which means they probably, if they haven't finished shooting it, they've already started. And I will be watching that. So,
oh yeah, and I love it. The Book of Boba Fett is such a cool name.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's probably gonna be another like 6 to 8 episodes. I like that. I like the fact that they're doing the shows to tell the story, and that's it. We ain't getting like superficial episodes or filler episodes, stuff like that. I like that. So overall, I enjoyed season 2 a lot. I've enjoyed both seasons. There was a few things that I didn't like because I do think the formula is getting a little bit repetitive in Mandalorian, where okay, we got a job. Okay, Mando, I need you to do this. Okay, dude, I'll do it. And then like, I hope with season 3 they stop that. Season 3, I hope, is about taking back Mandalore. I hope that's what season 3 is about. But I enjoyed it overall. And I can't wait for season 3. So Rob, Vicky, what are your thoughts on the season as a whole?
You can go ahead, Vicky. You can go first.
Okay. The season as a whole, I enjoyed it, but I was all for like the women empowerment throughout the whole thing. So I'm like, you know, my girl Cara, like, she a nice, strong Amazonian woman. Like, yes, queen, yes, I'm enjoying all of this. No skinny minis, we gonna rock this place. So I was enjoying it. So I was good. I mean, I didn't like, you know, when they finally gave Baby Yoda a name. I didn't like his name. But other than that, we still don't know a species name, which did annoy me. But, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was a great season. Jay, you and I have talked about this, but I mean, I've been pretty lukewarm on The Mandalorian. I'm like one of the few people who, like, throughout season 1, you know, I'm the biggest Star Wars fan. Excuse me, but that first season like just didn't really grab me, and I felt like I was like the only one in the world who wasn't wasn't really feeling it. I kind of felt like people were really blinded by Baby Yoda and were like so focused on how cute Baby Yoda is, which he is. Like, I mean, of course, like I love Baby Yoda, don't get me wrong. That I watched it and I was like, this show seems so kind of hollow and like the story's paper thin. Like you said, Jay, it's very kind of repetitive and it's got that serialized nature of episodes where it's like mission and then it's over, then a new mission and then it's over, then a new mission. And so I just was like, it's just okay. Season 2, about probably 3 or 4 episodes in, absolutely changed for me and got so much better. And then, you know, you bring in Ahsoka, you bring in Boba Fett, you bring in Luke freaking Skywalker. And I don't care, like, that it's relying on old characters. To me, that makes me excited. So I thought it was awesome, and I'm super stoked for where it's going to go. And it also makes me more excited for the other shows that we know they're making that we were talking about. I think the Boba Fett and Obi-Wan and the Rangers of the Republic, you know, all these other things that they're doing. I'm just so into it. That Acolyte show that they announced, I think that they might have finally figured out a formula for just doing this stuff. So I just thought it was great. And I'm super jazzed for season 3. They might do the Taking Back Mandalore thing. Like you said, Jay, I think that's a pretty good prediction, but whatever they do, I'm into it. And I want to see more Jedi characters show up. I love that they introduced the Force, because to me, it's harder for me to connect to any Star Wars story that really doesn't have to do with the Force and the Jedi. To me, that's what makes Star Wars interesting and special. And a Star Wars story that has nothing to do with that stuff, to me, just becomes regular old sci-fi. And that doesn't make it bad, but it doesn't make it Star Wars kind of special. Once you bring in the Jedi and the Force and the Sith and all that stuff and that lore, then it's special and it's Star Wars. So the fact that they did that in this season really helped me. So I loved it. And I'll ask you guys a question at the end here too. Do you think we will see Grogu come back in this season, or is he done in The Mandalorian, the show?
I think, well, here's the thing. They did make a statement. Rangers of the Republic, Ahsoka, and Mandalorian are all going to be involved in a crossover type thing next year.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think after that, we're probably going to get a time skip. We're going to get a time jump, and we may see Grogu come back. Now, the thing is, I think it's important that we spend some time away from him and he doesn't come back too quick, because then it'll mess with the story.
A crutch.
It'll mess with the story, because if Luke is training him, let him get fully trained. Mm-hmm. Give us a good time jump, say 10 years. Give us a good 10-year time jump or something, and then have him come back with full force powers and not a baby anymore, and go from there.
If you only do 10 years, right now he's 50 years old.
Oh yeah, that is right.
Yeah, he's still a baby.
Like he's barely even a toddler. He's not even talking yet. So
they got to find a way to do this.
He's got to go like 200 years in the future to become like a teenager.
Yeah. They got to find a way to do it.
But we also don't know a lot about this species as a whole. So who knows, those first 50 years, they don't age. And then all of a sudden, they're whatever, they go into quote unquote, chrysalis, puberty, whatever. And then they age. Who knows? So they could actually make that work. But they would really need to
it would take some clever writing on their part. Yeah.
But again, I read crazy fan fiction, so you can do
it. You're like, bring it on.
There has to be a way to do it, because once again, the reason why, and I'll tell you the reason why I like the stories at first, because it's basically a Western. I've always wanted to see what the other sides of the universe were like. I'm like, I know about the Jedi and the Sith, but even in the movies, they say the Force everything can be Force sensitive. You can have Force sensitive animals and stuff like that. So I was always intrigued about, okay, how is everybody else getting along? Mm-hmm. And when they turned it into a spaghetti Western, I'm like, okay, this is actually interesting to me. So it works. And now I do like that they're including the Force in it, because now that we've got the characters established, okay, now we need to start talking about the people who could fight against those Force wielders and the people who who are making a way in this world. Because remember, the Mandalorian society was the other crazy power before they almost got wiped out.
Yeah.
So, and there was a Jedi that was from Mandalore, which is why they have a Darksaber. So there's interesting stuff that they can do. The only reason why I say the whole thing with Grogu is because I don't want it to be like a crutch to the series where, okay, our get out of jail free card is somebody using the Force.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want that. I don't want that to be their get out of jail free card. Like I want to see like how they get through a situation. Now I would like to see them go into what his species is and how that works. But once again, they'd have to do that.
That's tricky too. I think that's tricky because, you know, George Lucas is not, he doesn't own it anymore, obviously.
Yeah, he doesn't.
But it has always been his mandate that he would never explain Yoda's species. He would never name Yoda's species. And obviously they're now, you know, just the introduction of Grogu is obviously kind of going back on that. And he's clearly given his blessing too, because he's on set and he's holding Baby Yoda and he's friends with Dave and John. So there's that aspect, but I wonder if there's maybe like a promise, like a gentleman's agreement. You know, I doubt it was in a contract, but maybe a gentleman's agreement, like, you know, let's honor George's wish about this species just enough. Like, we can introduce a new character. So here's Grogu. And maybe we'll tease stuff about this species, but we will commit to George's vision that will never truly explain or name them. And I'm just guessing, like maybe they are going to go down that path, like you're saying. But I also wonder if maybe they won't, just because George never really wanted to, you know.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to just see what choice they make. I could see it going either way.
Yeah, either way it goes, they're going to have some clever writing for it because there's no way to. People's interests are going to be peaked now, and that's part of the downside of it. So
yeah, like I don't think he should necessarily come back into the Mandalorian universe, but at the same time, he can't disappear completely. Like you made him too important now, so he can't disappear completely.
You're so right.
I don't think he should come back in Mandalorian anymore. Like he's very special, and I would, you know, that relationship's amazing, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But we're done for now.
Yeah.
And I don't know where you're going to put him at somewhere else, because he has to come back somewhere, but not for this.
Yeah, I actually like that because I've been talking with some of my friends and my younger brother. You know, we've all been texting about the show, and a lot of people, you guys have probably heard some of the conversations about. People are mad about this actually, because it's like, okay, Luke takes Grogu away, and we know that what happens in the next, 20 years of the lore is Luke he's rebuilding a Jedi Order and a Jedi training school, and he does that, and he also brings along his nephew Ben Solo, and eventually that all falls to shit. Ben Solo kills every one of the students except for the few he takes with him to become the Knights of Ren. And that's what happens. And so people are mad, including one of my best buddies who was actually furious when he was texting me about this, who's like, they're going to kill Grogu because Grogu is obviously going to be part of the school. And when Ben goes bad, Grogu is not one of the Knights of Ren. So that means Ben Solo must have killed Grogu. And
that's why I say there's an alteration. That's why I said there's going to have to be an alteration.
They might do that. But what I like and how this kind of feeds into Vicky, into your point, is like, I personally I'm okay with that happening. I actually think that becomes really good storytelling. I like the idea that we have a little bit of an idea of Grogu's fate and that it's a sad fate. I don't mind that at all. Just because he's cute doesn't mean I can't accept he has a sad fate. I mean, freaking Anakin killed that little kid. He was like, what are we going to do? And like, we all think that's great, even though that kid was really cute. So like, kill him. That's fine. So if that happens to Grogu,
he had it coming. You don't know how many juices he stole. He had it coming.
But and I'm kind of rambling about this, but I like the idea of knowing Grogu's fate, and I like the idea of it being a sad fate. And to me, what I think people have missed is what you were saying, Vicky. I don't think that fate has to happen in The Mandalorian. That can happen in a book or a comic or a different show or even a movie in like 5 or 6 years. We can get other stories that involve Grogu separate from The Mandalorian for a couple of years until eventually we also learned the story of when he meets his fate at Kylo Ren. And I think that journey, if we get a 5 to 6 year journey of different stories featuring Grogu, and eventually we see that part, I think that actually becomes really cool. And it what it does do is it doesn't retcon some of the Disney trilogy stuff, and it kind of delivers on the promise of what Ben Solo and Luke did at the Jedi training school. And it gives us more stories with Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren. And so I just think there's a cool path there, you know? It doesn't make me mad at all.
Another show they probably need to do, if they're not going to go with that route, they really do need to do a Kylo Ren series, just because they did not do a good job in that trilogy of explaining him at freaking all.
It's a missed opportunity because I think he is the strongest part of this trilogy, you know?
Yeah, and they outside of Finn getting screwed over, he got screwed over too.
Yeah.
Story-wise.
I would say that Finn got screwed over just a smidge more because I think that with Kylo Ren, we
just don't know enough.
Yeah, we don't know enough, but I do think that with the exception of how we ended in Rise of Skywalker, which was absolutely horrendously bad, up until that point, I still was like invested and interested in his character, and I liked what they did with him, even though the movies around him weren't very good. I was still into it. But with Finn, it's different because they continually were trying to promise something with Finn, but they never moved it out of vague territory. It was always vague, and it never even became it. They never even definitively said what it was. Like, we can tell what it is, but the movies never said what it was. And so with Kylo Ren, they did still deliver on who he is and what he was trying to do. But yes, we also want more, like you said. And so that could be really cool if they do that.
Yeah. So, all right, people, that's going to do it for this episode, this series of our fresh takes for Mandalorian. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know what you thought about the season as a whole in the comments. If you have any questions, we would love to answer them. And we'll see you guys on the next series. I guess we got WandaVision coming in January. We've got Falcon and Winter Soldier in March, and I think Loki's in June, I think, or something like that. So we're about to get some stuff. So be on the lookout for some more of these.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah, and we will see you later, people. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.